समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
As Nitish Kumar took oath for a historic 10th time in Bihar, in the presence of the Prime Minister and an array of NDA leaders, there are big questions now for how the opposition will respond to the post-Bihar phase of Indian politics. A disarray in the Congress with Shashi Tharoor coming under direct attack from party colleagues. One called him a hypocrite. And Prashant Kishor, who failed to open his account in Bihar, sitting on a Maun Vrat. All of this as Nitish Kumar perhaps reminded everybody that he was the most underestimated politician of India. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo story. Nitish Kumar took oath as Bihar Chief Minister today for a historic 10th time. Written off in this campaign initially by the media, by his opponents, and perhaps at one point even by his ally, the BJP, Nitish Kumar and Prime Minister Modi held hands in a statement of victory to the cheering crowds and the presence of a galaxy of NDA leaders. For the opposition, this Bihar moment is a key critical challenge. The Congress now finds itself confronted with disarray within. There are voices like Ahmed Patel's daughter who have spoken out. And then there is Shashi Tharoor, who is coming under direct attack from other Congress leaders, including Sheila Dikshit's son Sandeep Dikshit, who called Tharoor a hypocrite. There are also rumblings within the Congress in Karnataka, where D.K. Shivakumar is talking about how he will not be in the state unit indefinitely, indicating perhaps that he has his eye on the Chief Minister's chair currently occupied by Mr. Siddaramaiah. As the Congress rumbling continues, there's also the question of what happens to Prashant Kishor as a brand. As Nitish Kumar took oath, Prashant Kishor went on an unusual fast, a Maun Vrat as it were, to introspect. He did say, however, before that he takes 100% responsibility for his party's poor performance and he intends to continue working in politics in Bihar. It's Nitish Kumar's big moment, but the questions are really all about the other side. How is it that the BJP keeps winning and the Congress in particular seems to be in denial about it? Can the Congress split as the Prime Minister has suggested? Or is it going to be status quo within the Congress despite the shock from Bihar? Let me introduce our very special guests, our panel of political experts today. I want to welcome Sanjay Jha to the program, who's of course a former congressperson, a critic of the Modi government, but also has been a supporter of Shashi Tharoor in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how he sees the rumblings that are now not just within, but are very, very public. We're also joined by Shubrashta, who's of course a well-known political analyst and is the host of her own show as well. It's good to see you, Shubrashta. We're joined by Dilip Cherian, our political analyst, brand guru. Good to see you as always, Dilip. And Shugata Srinivas Raju, senior journalist and author, is with us. Welcome to the program. Let's actually get first comments. Shubrashta, I'll start with you. This moment of Nitish Kumar taking oath for the 10th time. The one thing that most journalists, most people, everybody, except the voters of Bihar seem to have got wrong is how they thought of Nitish Kumar. They thought of him as someone personally decent, but tired, but jaded. That was not to be in the end, whether it was his 10,000 rupees to women scheme that made all the difference, or as some others have suggested, that he was the face of a maternal welfare state, that women in particular did not budge from their support of him. When you saw today the Prime Minister Nitish Kumar sharing that stage, Nitish Kumar taking oath for the 10th time, there was even some speculation that the BJP may have wanted a different chief minister, not knowing perhaps that the JDU would perform so well. Of course, it was a grand performance for the BJP, but it was really Nitish Kumar's ability to keep surviving that has been the story of this election. What did you think of this moment? Somebody taking oath as the 10th time as chief minister.
Barkha, I've written about the Bihar verdict also, and I maintain that this was a thank you Nitish election. Bihar thanked him for the kind of development. There is a certain model of development that Nitish Kumar ushered in Bihar, which of course carried on the legacy of Karpuri Thakur, continued to Laluji's era, and then of course Nitish Kumar added his own version of good governance to it, and of course the women welfare schemes to it. However, let's not forget that at the beginning of the political campaign, Nitish Kumarji's health became a central focus of discussion all across. After a point in time, started losing it, losing the moral sheen. People started getting extremely indecent about some comments. And I think people of Bihar took it really personally, because he is not a man with bad intentions. I think one thing that has really stuck with Nitish Kumar all throughout his career is the non-negotiability about his intent. He has always intended to do good for Bihar, even if he has, the kind of political seesaw moments that we've seen in his career, has all come from the fact that he should be at the forefront when it comes to decision making, when it comes to being the frontal face of the organization and taking some tough decisions. For example, liquor ban. For example, I mean, of course, all the women-centric schemes we can go on and on about. So I see this moment really as a final sign-off to Nitish Kumar's legacy. And I also see this as some kind of a coming-of-age electoral verdict for Bihar. Bihar this time has not voted for Nitish alone. It has voted for Narendra Modi-led BJP. There's a certain degree of hope and a certain degree of anticipation for good infrastructural work. In fact, I was not very convinced about the victory itself till I came to Patna myself. Right now, I am in Patna. Every individual in Patna has one thing to say, which is you can visibly see Patna changing with so many flyovers, with so many, roads being constructed. And that is a very visible face of development that BJP has always been associated with. So, and Bihar, that way you have also traveled the length and breadth of Bihar. You would know that when it comes to seeing development all around, Bihar still lags behind in many ways. So I think this kind of narrative that the BJP has built around it has really settled in the minds of people. Also, we can go on and on about, perhaps in your show we are going to dissect where the opposition went wrong.
Of course.
This time the NDA ran an error-free campaign. You saw people, even today when the oath-taking ceremony was taking place, the body language of the alliance partners was full of respect for each other. There wasn't this sense of I'm the big brother, you are the small brother kind of a thing. People, all of them, including the BJP, knows their limitations and their strengths, but nobody is trying to overpower each other. That's how I think coalition dharma works.
I will 100% come to the opposition, not just the mistakes that they possibly made in Bihar, but the mistakes that they might still be continuing to make on a national level. Just a quick follow-up before I open it up. You spoke about how there was a backlash to all the speculation, all the commentary about Nitish Kumar's health. Prashant Kishor went so far as to call him mentally unfit to remain in public life. Are you suggesting that people actually came together for Nitish, that whether or not Nitish Kumar is battling health challenges, people did not like the language that was being used for him, and they felt that Bihar owed him that insulation from all the speculation about his health?
Yes. And I also feel so because look at the performance of JDU in this election. It's unprecedented. Yeah. It's not just about anti-incumbency against one leader. It was also, pro-incumbency about one leader. It was also about the entire cadre getting up together to say that this is a sign-off we need to give to our own leader. Because let's face the reality, without Nitish Kumar, JDU is nothing but a
Yeah.
couple of political leaders who can go here and there. We've seen that in the past as well. So this was also JDU's cadre, especially the women cadre getting together. I'll tell you a very personal anecdote from one of the JDU women karyakartas. It is only the JDU Mahila Prakosht which made it an emotional election, which was otherwise a very dry election in terms of coalition. It was the women karyakartas who went door to door saying that this might be Nitish Ji's last election. Women of Bihar need to give him a proper sign off. This is what he has done, and that's how their campaign narrative worked. And JDU worked very silently this time. You could see that, of course, NDA had a huge campaign plan at hand, but door to door campaigning, going and meeting karyakartas, it was all JDU signature style. I think it has really worked in their favor. And yeah, to answer your question, it really backfired. Because in a culturally sensitive state like Bihar, comments about Chhathi Maiya, comments about somebody's old age, they don't augur well.
Yeah. Let's open this up. Sanjay Jha, as somebody who supports the Congress, criticizes the Modi government, do you believe that the Congress, a party you still support while calling out its flaws often, is suffering from denialism? And now I'm not talking just about Bihar, and I'm not the one talking. There are people like Ahmed Patel's daughter. She went public in a series of interviews, including one with me, where she said there's an arrogance in the party. This is not the time to be blaming external factors. It's not the time to be making excuses. There's something that we're doing which is wrong. She also said attacking Prime Minister Modi as a political strategy is not working. We have to find another narrative. She conceded that she couldn't get appointments with Rahul Gandhi. She called the Delhi leadership out of touch with the ground reality. And then there's Shashi Tharoor, your friend. And I'm just going to, in a moment from now, play out after you speak Sandeep Dixit's statement. He's called him a hypocrite today. He said, why don't you leave the Congress? Why don't you join the BJP? These attacks have become quite frontal. It seems as if Nitish taking oath for the 10th time is juxtaposed with the Congress in turmoil.
Barkha, good evening to you and to my three fellow panelists. Before I answer that question, I need to just kind of make my short statement on Bihar, because if you heard Subrashta, it seemed like it is the most brilliant campaign and everything was hunky-dory. In the mistake we very often make in our political conversations is the winner gets everything right and the loser is condemned. That's now not actually the way politics really plays out. The truth is that there were issues with JDU and BJP. Everyone knows that BJP did not want Nitish Kumar to be the chief minister. His health, I'm not going to make a comment on it, other than the fact that, well, it is beyond speculation. There was serious conversation about that. Now, how they talked about it, that's a different conversation altogether. Also, don't forget, 20 years later, after being in government, if Bihar still fares among the second worst in crime, the lowest in poverty, hunger, and per capita income, and probably one of the worst in jobs, to say that Nitish Kumar won it because people wanted to say thank you is being a little, I would say, superficial. But anyway, let me put that aside for the moment. To address your question, yes, undoubtedly, I think where the Congress erred in Bihar, which is obviously going to have a ramification outside of Bihar because you got more elections coming up in the coming year, is the fact that, end of day, Congress is the larger party in terms of its pan-India presence and political heft and experience. RJD was really the big brother in Bihar. But I thought where the Congress probably failed in guiding the coalition or the Mahagathbandhan was in terms of narrative control. And the narrative control, I'll tell you where I think is a singular lapse. 20 years after being voted out, and RJD, Laluji, was voted out 20 years ago, the fact that Narendra Modi and everyone else talked about Jungle Raj and made that literally like the Damocles sword over Tejaswi's head is a tragic commentary on narrative setting. Literally, by that logic, Tejaswi will never become a chief minister because they will keep reminding, about his father's antecedents of allowing law and order to collapse. I think the Congress should have handled that a lot better, along with Tejaswi, of course. But that responsibility was really the Congress parties to recognize that in crime against women, murders, there were businessmen being shot in broad daylight in Patna. And these were not really highlighted at all. As a
And
result,
I didn't help the RJD's case that the daughter who donated a kidney to her father was the one who was, by her account, abused, thrown out of the house, and basically treated shabbily. It doesn't help that narrative that is already frayed.
well, I think both sides have those issues. We know about Lalan Singh and the other gentleman, Mr. Singh, and
Anand Singh, yes.
exactly. So we know exactly 46% or rather 65% of BJP candidates have a criminal background. Anyway, the Jungle Raj stuck, and I believe the Congress should have been able to guide the Mahagathbandhan better. As far as the current crisis is concerned, that predicament always hits the Congress hard following an election debacle, and it's pretty natural, in my opinion. Sashi is the prime manifestation of that problem. I think Sashi honestly making a rather explicit statement of adulation on Mr. Modi's speech at the Indian Express office was indeed exaggerated, because we all know that this government has been an authoritarian bully and has got almost fascist credentials, if you ask me. So I really felt that was over the top. And I have read Sashi's book, The Paradoxical Prime Minister. In fact, I interviewed him on that book when we were doing a little chat together to promote the book. And he calls Modi the most disastrous government leader. He talks about him being...
Yeah, but in his books, he's also criticized Indira Gandhi. So, I mean, if you go to Shashi Tharoor's books, there's no end to finding contradictions to his current politics.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, let's look at it as Sashi's a very dear friend, and I'm sure he's going to get the snippet of this program down the line, but I need to call a spade a spade. The Congress party has every legitimate right to feel miffed with Sashi's comments, for the simple reason that whether it is on Mr. Modi as a Democrat, even I sniggered at that, or Mr. Modi on handling Trump and Operation Sindoor, I think Mr. Modi scores a big D- or an F on both counts. And on both these issues, I think Sashi took this position that he had to make Mr. Modi look larger than life. I think he chose the wrong subject to become a little more neutral or dispassionate, or probably become more praiseworthy of Mr. Modi. So that obviously will be uncomfortable for the Congress to take. And as far as the comments of other people in the Congress, like Amit Patel's daughters feeling disillusioned or disenchanted, I do believe the Congress has some homework to do to make sure its internal way of working and handling its own people becomes a lot more exemplary. At the moment, it falls short.
Okay, thank you, Shubhrajita and Sanjay, for those opening remarks. Dilip and Shugata, since you've already been so patient, with your permission, I think it would be, relevant if I played Sandeep Dikshit's comments. They're the sharpest criticism I've heard of Shashi Tharoor yet publicly, and I'll come right to you after that. Let's take a look.
शशि थरूर जी की दिक्कत क्या है कि मुझे लगता नहीं वो देश के बारे में ज्यादा जानते हैं। मैंने उनकी कुछ किताबें पढ़ी हैं, फौरी रूप में जो पॉपुलर चीजें हैं उनको लेकर वो लिखते रहते हैं। जो पकड़ या समझ इस देश की होनी चाहिए वो उनमें है नहीं। खासकर 70 साल में क्या हुआ इस देश में, 50, 60, 70, 80 के दशक में क्या हुआ, उसमें बहुत ही अज्ञानी है वो। और चलिए छोड़िए, अज्ञानता कोई राजनीति में तो कम से कम कोई कसूर नहीं है। आजकल तो अज्ञानता बहुत बड़ी चीज मानी जाती है राजनीति में, तो उसका शशि थरूर जी भी फायदा उठा रहे हैं। जिनकी वो कल तारीफ कर रहे थे वो भी अज्ञान के भंडार में बहुत आगे बढ़ चुके, उनकी भी वो तारीफ करते रहे। लेकिन मुझे शशि जी से एक पूछना है कि देखिए, हम राजनीति में जब उतरते हैं, माना देश सेवा के लिए उतरते हैं, कुछ लोग अपने आप को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए उतरते हैं, लेकिन जिस कारण से भी उतरते हैं, सामान्य ये माना जाता है कि हम एक ऐसे दल को चुनते हैं जिसकी सोच समझ, जिसकी आर्थिक नीतियां, जिसकी आर्थिक समझ हमारे अनुकूल हो, जिससे हमें लगेगा कि देश को फायदा होता है। और कांग्रेस की नीतियां बेहतर नहीं हैं, तो फिर ये सवाल उनसे पूछना चाहिए कि फिर आप कांग्रेस में क्यों हैं? क्या सिर्फ इसलिए कि आप सांसद हैं? तो इसका मतलब है आप में कोई नैतिक ताकत नहीं है कि ठीक है, अगर आपको लगता है छोड़ दीजिए, क्या है सांसदी आपके लिए? आपको तो बहुत पैसा उससे भी मिल रहा है, पेंशन से भी मिल रहा है यूएन के लिए, और आपने तो यूएन की सेवा की। ऐसा भी कोई नहीं कि आप बहुत बड़े कोई देश के भक्त रहे।
So, Dilip, I'll come to you. Basically, he goes on to then say that Shashi Tharoor is a hypocrite. He actually uses that word. He says, why don't you leave the Congress? You have enough money from the United Nations as pension. You don't need to be in politics for the money. And he's not the, he may be the most personal in his comments, but the Congress spokespersons, the official spokespersons have been criticizing Tharoor as well since Tharoor's comments, in fact, on LK Advani. Tharoor is symptomatic of what is going on in the Congress. What Rashid Kidwai has called the Jai Jagat gang. He says that instead of the Congress focusing on how they should fix their house, what's happening in the Congress right now is jockeying for Rajya Sabha posts that have to be decided on by January. What do you make of these two political movements? Nitish Kumar's oath taking in Bihar, intercut, as it were. If this were a movie, the intercut would be what's happening in Congress.
Let's start with the Congress first, just for continuity's sake, since Sanjay just spoke about it and you've just played out Sandeep Dixit's comments. For me, Shashi Tharoor is a bit like AQI in Delhi. We scream and shout about it at some point of time and then promptly forget about him after the moment is over. So I think his relevance as a huge Congress leader is actually minuscule. He may be positioning himself for Kerala at some point of time, but that's still a long time away. So I don't think that fracasses in the Congress actually makes for anything. Because
I love the just to interrupt you to say I love the analogy, but also to say the AQI in Delhi really does matter more than any individual politician's career trajectory. But I see the analogy. We make noise, we discuss it, we move on, we lament again.
And the Congress continues exactly as it is. Nothing changes. The second thing, as far as Nitish is being sworn in as the 10th time Chief Minister, I really feel for the people of Bihar who are supposed to be politically sensitive and extremely intelligent. There is no getting away from the fact that Bihar has pretty much maintained only one thing, which is its rank as far as development is concerned. Subrashta is right. And I also went into Patna, and I think that the visible signs of infrastructure are there, and there is a sense that there is change on its way. But a 10-time Chief Minister cannot but take blame, and you may have a lot of analysis saying how grateful and how rightfully indignant the people of Bihar are in terms of voting him back. But it tells you a lot about the kind of caste structures and the fine-tuning which is really the backbone of this victory. And if you saw him taking oath this time with no aspersions on his health situation, it didn't look as stable as it does. So I get a feeling that we are dealing with a gentleman who is probably, in terms of giving him a vote of thanks and all of that is concerned, clearly well past his half-life, and probably is someone who will find the whole business of running a state as complex and as huge as Bihar a difficult task to do going forward in terms of just and at the end of the day also in terms of imagery, Barkha. If you look at the image of Nitish Kumar, is it right to expect him to magnificently or substantially change course when he's been the same thing 10 times over? So I don't think that the people of Bihar have proven their smarts by doing this. I think the NDA has proven its smarts by working the electoral machinery. And I mean that both descriptively as well as analytically the right way. And they've done all their calculations. And the most profound thing is they have delivered a campaign where there is very little to criticize, which can't be said about the other side. When I was watching some of the rallies, there is no doubt that Tejaswi's people on bikes who were accompanying many actually looked like hoods, and that brought back the sense of jungle Rajism. So it may be just the caste factor, but the fact is that the outriders and the boys on bikes who were part of Tejaswi's campaign definitely looked on the wilder side, closer to the Wild West and reminiscent of Bihar of the past. So that I think is a problem.
Prashant Kishor just once again, what I'm hearing you say is that Nitish Kumar seems to you to be more vulnerable than before, despite this big win. despite
He
this big
looks,
win.
yeah, my sense is that he looks vulnerable, both physically as well as in terms of capability of delivering what a 10-time chief minister with a majority of this kind, with absolutely no excuse not to deliver stellar results, is going to be able to do. That's my short
Okay.
point.
Okay, we'll come to Prashant Kishor separately. Just let's look at Nitish Kumar's win and what's happening in the Congress. Sugata, you had a very interesting column out talking about how Rahul Gandhi wanted to be like Jayaprakash Narayan and failed like JP. How do you look at what is happening in the aftermath of the defeat on the ground in Bihar? I take the point that it's absolutely historic, but I think Shivrashta has identified some of the reasons. Even Sanjay has poor narrative building, a kind of rallying together by the people of Bihar. They didn't like the course way in which Nitish's physical and mental health was being spoken of, the women of Bihar, the Mahila scheme, and of course the BJP. Let's not take away from the BJP's role, the NDA's role, the Modi factor in this victory. Now what? How are you reading it, Shugata?
Thank you, Barkha. See, when I saw Nitish take oath the 10th time today, I immediately felt that it was not like the way he took oath the 9th time. The simple reason is he was fumbling. He was very, very slow. He was not the Nitish that you saw the previous time take oath, or the 8th time, or the 7th time. So there's certainly a kind of decline in Nitish's health, Nitish's speed, and Nitish's, Nitish has been doing all kinds of things, even today, holding Modi ji's hand and trying to, wave and all that was not typical Nitish, because I remember, he was not even willing to attend a lunch or dinner hosted by Modi in 2014 or 2015, and Arun Jaitley was negotiating all the way. So, from that to now, something looks very odd about Nitish. So that is one part of Nitish. But then, I think I agree. I mentioned this the other day as well. If somebody is impaired, somebody is aging, somebody is not well, and it's largely the cultural thing. If in the Indian culture, people generally don't like those people being bashed up. So that was one little thing that contributed to sympathy and empathy that Nitish gained during the course of the election. But that is not all, Barkha. Nitish did something else with Modi. There is a certain kind of local and the universal that was brought together brilliantly. So they first tackled the 50% of the electorate, which is women. So the women schemes, or targeting them and ensuring that they don't split on caste lines, was extremely, extremely important, because Yadav women went with Yadav men earlier. Muslim women went with Muslim men earlier. Other smaller castes could be, the VIP party person's caste or somebody else's caste. I think that the families went together and voted the same person or the same party earlier. But I think they broke that for the very first time, where 50%, at least that, the gender demographic was handled very smartly. And that is the reason why I said the other day, Barkha, that I see that this is the first time, one of the first elections, Indian elections, where you're trying to go beyond the mandal patterns of voting. Because more and more the BJP rules the center, more and more the BJP goes about running Indian states. I think they are going to concentrate on universals and not caste or any of those micro factors which have influenced Indian elections till now. So there are several reasons as to why Nitish looked good with Modi, and Nitish would not have looked good with Rahul Gandhi. Now, Rahul Gandhi looked terrible with Tejasvi Yadav, because both of them were dynasts in the first place. And if you look at Lalu Prasad Yadav's mannerisms, or the manner in which he interacts with people, there is a certain feudalism that gets communicated instantly. There was a time in Bihar politics when that kind of domineering was acceptable, culturally acceptable. But Nitish became a different kind of reference point in Bihar politics in the last, say, 10, 15 years. But it has to be also said that Nitish has not done great for Bihar. It's only that Nitish has had a very low bar in terms of Lalu Prasad Yadav. So, That is something that has helped him.
You're saying it's also what you're being measured against. It's also what you're being measured against.
See, Barkha, Ruchir Joshi had a piece in the Times of India, I think yesterday or day before, where he said if Bihar was a country, it would be the 12th poorest in the world. So,
Ruchir Sharma.
I'm sorry, Ruchir Sharma.
Yes.
So he had it was a very telling piece about what's happening on the ground there. But then he's being compared against Lalu Prasad Yadav. So that is the low bar that he has.
I think that's a very interesting point. Because I do want to talk about Prashant Kishor, and I also want to talk about the Congress. But Shiprashta, if you want a quick response to this argument from all three to varying degrees, that actually this is not a vote for Nitish Kumar's record. It could have been a little bit of sympathy. It could have been a little bit of sentiment. It could have been a little bit of, poor narrative management, the Jungle Raj shadow constantly haunting Tejashwi. Do you agree with that? Because it doesn't explain, the historic turnout. I think a historic turnout indicates great enthusiasm for the political process. There's something that is making you proactively engaged with politics. And I don't think we fully understood what was that in this election, right? So if you want to quickly respond, and then I want to move on to Prashant Kishor as a political brand.
Barkha, I agree with whatever points have been made here. I just want to make one thing very clear, that when we are talking about Nitish's oath taking today, we are taking into account an unprecedented electoral victory for the NDA. We are all conjecturing this could have worked, this could not have worked. Of course, the opposition was in bad shape. Of course, but to say that the opposition was helpless is also not a good thing to say. At the end of the day, we all know that there is a certain degree of pessimism when it comes to Biharis thinking about Bihar in a certain light. How do you capitalize on that? How do you make that into an electoral narrative? That's where the opposition failed. But more importantly, I think Dilip ji touched upon the caste combination part. I would want to dwell there. Listen, this election is about breaking all kinds of combinations that we used to see on Excel sheets, either in front of television cameras or in in boardrooms. It was about splitting the dominant Yadav OBC vote to say Yadavs are not en bloc voting for the RJD. It was also saying that EBC as a vote bank is completely shifting to the NDA. It also depicted that Muslim women are also voting in favor of Nitish, because if you look at constituencies where that it's a Muslim dominated constituency, it has gone for the NDA. It also goes on to show that Dalits, who traditionally were who in a very weird kind of a light, RJD tried to prove itself as pro-Dalit on national television. It used to send these three spokespeople. One of them happened to be Dalit, two happened to be OBCs, but claiming this larger saga of Dalit empowerment and Ambedkarism. I think all of that spoke of a certain kind of caste consciousness which was there in strategy rooms of the NDA, which it capitalized on and Mahagathbandhan completely missed out on. Let me also tell you, it's not that when I say the campaign was error-free, I do not mean to say that the politics of NDA is error-free. There have been huge problems politically. We may sit down and puncture the development narrative that has come out from the NDA fold. Of course, there are a lot of issues on which Nitish ji should have worked on, has not been able to work on. BJP has not been able to make the kind of inroads that it should have by being in power with Nitish. But the resounding victory of Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister shows that Bihari public has really migrated to saying something, which is what I draft as thank you, Nitish.
I think that's an interesting distinction between the politics and the campaign. Sanjay, there's a question in our audience stream, particularly for you. Prasad says, Barkha, Sanjay might find it tough to say, but the fact is the Congress did not campaign on the ground. Tejashwi waged a very visible and active campaign as their junior partner. The Congress should have joined the RJD's campaign. I just want you to respond to that. And then if you have any thoughts on on Prashant Kishor. He was called many things. He got a lot of media attention. He was called B team of the BJP by the opposition. That didn't turn out to be true. He's now on a Maun Vrat to introspect. But let's start with the Congress. Sanjay.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. Number one, I think it was a fait accompli that Tejasvi Yadav would be the chief ministerial face of the Mahagathbandhan. I think it took too long to make a formal announcement. There should have been no speculation whatsoever. I mean, RJD was fighting 143 seats. The fact that Tejasvi would have been a chief minister should have been known 3 months ago. You see, that's how you change the entire political confabulation. And let me give you a second one. Everybody knew that this 10,000 rupees was a dole. Why did it take so long to put the manifesto out? If you really read the manifesto, Barkha, it was a well-done job, where there was one job provided for every household, etc. Now, we are not getting into the maths of it, but it had a lot of what you call as currency, political currency. Now, that was not announced weeks ahead to take on this 10,000 dole. So these are what I call as really absurd and almost what I call as amateurish political calls. They make no sense. Now, let me tell you two things that I disagree with. One, a little bit with Sugata, and the second with Subrashta. Sugata mentioned about dynasty, and I'll tell you I have said it before and I'll say it again. Dynasty, like caste, is a political reality of India. Even if you look at Bihar, Tejasvi Yadav gets the largest vote share amongst all political parties. Last time he was the biggest political party. He's been in a dynasty for a long time. And the RJD has been better than the BJP practically until this election. The second point, Chirag Paswan, he's also a dynast. If you ask me, and that contradicts what Subrash mentioned, I think Chirag Paswan is the real X factor of this election. If you look at the Mahagathbandhan, it retains its vote share. I think it's just gone down a little bit of the Congress vote share by around 1 or less than that. Mahagathbandhan retained its vote share. It's the Chirag Paswan 6.5% to 7% that gets added to NDA that did not happen the last time.
No, but it retains vote share, but not the ability to convert to seats. We have a first past the post system, right?
Yeah, so he gets 29 seats, which is beyond anybody's imagination. Remember last time the JDU and Paswan were made to fight with each other to dwarf the other side. This time they were together and it clearly worked. So I think even in caste, I don't think, this whole talk about the women vote became caste agnostic. Yes, it probably would, because $10,000 in a state where after 20 years you have kept it in poverty, in perpetuity, and then you provide an electoral dole. I think it's immoral politics, but if it was legal, so be it. But we all know the election commission was dodgy. Let's not deny that. I want to make this point because nobody's mentioned it. The SIR and its conduct in terms of allowing those $10,000 to happen and the money to be paid during the model code of conduct, these are very dodgy and fishy decisions that went unchecked. So it's a more complicated game. And I agree with you. I'm not going to run away from it. There are lessons for the Congress, undoubtedly. I'm not going to say no to that. But let's not get carried away with the BJP's victory. There are lessons to be learned. And one of them is, if you're in power, you can manipulate the elections to the last day.
I don't know what manipulate. I don't know that is the accurate word. Because Sanjay, and I'll let Shubrasha respond briefly, I don't know that the dole fully explains the turnout. I keep coming back to the turnout. The turnout reflects mass enthusiasm. Do you agree with me on Sanjay on that? That the turnout, the highest since the history in independent Bihar, the highest turnout ever, it has to mean something. Not everybody's getting the dole, right? Yes.
Barkha, why didn't you look at the data, right? If it was neither, if you can call it pro-incumbency because the government returned to power, but significantly, if you look at vote share, because seats is based on first past the post system. If you look at vote shares, they haven't significantly altered.
Okay. I'll let Shubrasha respond briefly. Sanjay, I know you have to leave a bit early, so just hop off. Yeah. Okay, hop off whenever you need to. Shubrasha, very briefly, and then I really want to go to Dilip and Shugata. Yeah, very briefly, Shubrasha.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just one intervention. My simple point is that yes, there might have been issues with NDA, but the way in which the alliance partners played their game, that's where the real magic lied. We can all talk about 10,000 votes. Also understand that women do not like these schemes, this scheme, which was, by the way, the 10,000 rupees has come through Jivika, which is an extremely different model of development. And Bihar has really been the front runner of that kind of a development. To say that women were bribed or to insinuate that is also extremely demeaning. And women, by the way, have also taken huge umbrage to the fact from Mahagathbandhan, and all the leaders went around saying the same thing. It did not go well, because these are really empowered women who go booth to also campaign for JDU, have been doing it for all these years. So yeah, that's the limited point I'm trying to make. See, Bihar has already done women empowerment in a certain way, and it has become a model for the rest of the country to follow. Please don't dismiss it. It was Nitish's idea, will continue to remain his idea, though it may be emulated across with different.
Okay, I want to come to Sugata and Dilip. I saw Sugata's hand go up. So Sugata, I'll start with you.
Yeah, yeah, Barkha, I just wanted to respond to what Sanjay said, but then Sanjay is gone. I mean, basically, Sanjay is speaking as if this is the first victory that the NDA has had. There was a graphic the other day doing rounds on the social media, which listed the 95 defeats of Rahul Gandhi. Of course, it was a very unfair graphic because not all 95 can be attributed to him. But then this is not the first time that the Congress or the Congress alliance is losing the elections. And it's not the first time that the NDA is walking away with a thing. So the thing is, the problem with the Congress party is they since the dynasty is right at the top, because he commented on the dynasty part as well, since the dynasty is right at the top, they don't get into a kind of fair analysis of what has happened or what has transpired. So nowhere in the world would somebody be allowed to run a party if you have had so many defeats. And in Bihar, Nitish particularly has stayed away from that kind of a dynastic narrative. He has not allowed his son to come in. So it creates a contrast, and there is a message that is constantly reiterated by the NDA partners about the dynastic thing. And then you see all of 9 Lalu children creating a mess over there. So it's the kind of image that it creates and the kind of barriers it creates, which is something that is not acceptable.
Dilip, let me bring you in, and then let's take a few last comments from all of you on Prashant Kishor. But on the Congress, the dynasty debate, if you want to come in.
Just briefly, if you see the Deputy Chief Minister of the BJP in Bihar, he is clearly yet another example of a dynast. So I don't think that we should go too far down, because I think in Bihar broadly, there is no great antagonism to the idea of dynasties. And it is very smart that Nitish has managed to retain control and not allow a dynasty to grow under his feet, as it were, for the moment. And I think that the party, as Subrasta and I think it was Subrasta who said, that this party actually begins and ends with Nitish. So that consciousness is there, because there is no second line which is completely stable and visible. So dynasty, I don't think, is the big issue. But the image of a huge turnout, Barkha, which you have referred to time and time again, I think you need to flip it over. And I think the women led the way. The huge turnout of women meant that the men would also turn out in very large numbers. So one triggers the other. And I think that the long-term benevolence towards women and leading to empowerment, it is not benevolence in a kind of dole-giving way only, but the huge armies of women working for Nitish was a factor, and it really swelled up. And this business of doles, I don't think we need to discuss it. Its ethicality has been discussed publicly, and most people concede it even privately, that it was so out of the ordinary that it is shocking that it was allowed to happen.
Well, doles, the interesting thing about doles, if you call them that, or welfare schemes, if you call them that.
Timing of doles.
No, I was just going to say it's actually in the end politically a zero-sum game, because it can be everybody's strategy to offer a welfare scheme. So in the end, I just think that people will need to fashion a narrative, a story that is about them, also. In addition to sort of targeting women, as Nitish Kumar did with this scheme. Let's come to something we haven't spoken about, Prashant Kishor. As Nitish Kumar took oath, Prashant Kishor said that he is going to be reflecting. He takes 100% responsibility. He is sitting on a silent fast. He says that he will continue to work. He's not going to return to a consultancy. He's going to continue to work as a aspiring politician. Do we think that there is going to be continued interest here? Shugata, I'll start with you.
Hello, yeah. Hi, Barkha. So this Prashant Kishor part, I've always felt that it was media that manufactured. Prashant Kishor, not just now, right from the beginning when he started claiming to have delivered victories to chief ministers and Modi himself. See, he played a small role in those campaigns. He probably tied them up. He probably created a structure for those campaigns. But he was not the brand himself. The brand was somebody else. So when he himself became the brand, he realized the limitations of what he could possibly do. But I will not rule him out because, I think Dilipji rightly said that Nitish is on his way out. So we don't know whether he's going to last 6 months or 8 months or 1 year. And at JDU, we don't know what's going to happen with JDU after Nitish, whether it's going to split in the middle or the BJP is going to gobble it up completely.
Yeah.
So he has a chance. He has a place in Bihar if he continues with that. But then we'll also have to see how caste continues to play a game there, whether it's going to be what we thought earlier, that it's the post-Mandal kind of a game that's getting played, where Prashant Kishor, certainly from an upper caste, will have a certain kind of a value and game to play, or what kind of alliances he's going to make. And he's also like, Rahul Gandhi, sorry to say this, he's also like Rahul Gandhi, extremely self-righteous. I don't think politics tolerates that kind of self-righteous behavior. If it doesn't work for you, then the whole world is wrong. You don't seem to sort of reflect at all. Your reflection cannot be about saying that they did the wrong thing, they were ethically incorrect or whatever.
Yeah.
So reflection is about something else. So I find a commonality between Prashant Kishor and Rahul Gandhi is they're extremely self-righteous. And I think politically that is something which they need to put aside and probably think of genuine reflection.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that you find similarities between them. I think there's been a reasonable antipathy between them when Prashant Kishor wanted to work a long term with the Congress party. Dilip, let me give you the close.
Like falls repel Barkha, therefore he.
Right, very interesting. Let me give Dilip the closing word. I think it's Kanshi Ram who said "Pehla chunav harane ke liye, dusra chunav jeetne ke liye," and so on. Like, there were many people, even I went to Bihar, who felt that Prashant Kishor, it was too early for him. He needed, abhi ek aur election lagega unko to make a difference. I think Shugata raises an interesting point. What happens to the post-Nitish Bihar? Not to talk about that of the day that Nitish Kumar has been sworn in as Chief Minister, but both of you seem very convinced that day is not that far. Do you see a political future for Prashant Kishor given his performance, or do you believe that yeah?
In fact, Barkha, I think that there is no doubt that Prashant Kishor saw the writing of Nitish's eventual vanishing at an earlier date than he should have expected it to happen. So I think that he's really waiting for that, and that will be his next opportunity. But the second thing is that there is no doubt that in many ways, Prashant Kishor has probably used this election to learn the lessons of doing the kind of padyatra that he has done. He has chosen candidates rather badly, and I think that awareness will come to him. And he also has probably mastered the idea of raising funding, which I think this time he may have used this fund, next time he will use other funds. And since this program is actually going on air as we speak, be warned also that at least one television channel claims that he has broken his Maun Vrat to actually speak to them. So let's see what he is going to be doing in the next coming days, because there is a motor mouthness about him. So if he's opening his mouth one place, he's bound to speak at many more. So you should be also aiming to get a slice of that of that sound bites when it does appear. Does he like? Does it look like he's likely to have something going forward? I don't know, and my experience of Bihar didn't tell me enough about what kind of an organizational structure he has created. If that continues to stay with him, whatever little he has created, then it can only be built upon. Because in the jhatka of the of Nitish's party's evolution to whatever it does, there will be a lot of people who will be available.
All right. Thank you, Dilip, for that news update that Prashant Kishor has broken that Maun Vrat, which was meant to be for introspection. I'm sure the media, which Shogata says created him, will still be queuing up to see what he has to say. So he is, as of now, somebody whom the years still have to reveal. He still has to reveal his full hand, which both of you seem to think will be revealed in the post-Nitish era of Bihar. But today, as it stands, it is still Nitish Kumar's moment. It is still Nitish Kumar's day, taking oath of a state for the 10th time. Even if you have often switched sides, is no mean accomplishment. To do it in an election where everybody had written you off is an even bigger achievement. So acknowledging that, we will say thank you to both of you, and earlier to Shubhrashta and to Sanjay Jha. And thank you to our audience. See you tomorrow. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.